Hello, Miami. You're watching 305 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things Miami sports related. I am Will.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for watching 305 Sports Now. Once again, I am your host, Will, and we have a very special guest today. Once again, the whole idea of bringing on content creators on my show is live and kicking. Thank you so much for all of you that supported the episode in which I brought on Chalupa Batman, aka Corey Carmona, onto the show the other day. It's gotten some great reviews, some great results, and you guys have been very supportive of it. But up next, we're doing some Dolphin talk now, as you can tell by the gear I'm wearing. We're doing some Dolphin talk right now. And up next is the founder and CEO of the Fins Talk Sports Network. But it's not just Miami Dolphins, man. They got Heat, they got baseball, they got professional wrestling as well. So welcome to the show, none other than my good friend Bobby from Fins Talk. What's up, Bobby? How's it going?
What's up, Will? How you doing, brother?
You have so much on your network. Did I miss anything?
Fantasy football.
There we go.
Fantasy football. So let me run down that list. So Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat. We got Major League Baseball starting tomorrow. Fantasy football, professional wrestling.
Yes.
And then I'll just say to be continued, just TBA. Watch out for the next thing to drop.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciative. You do great work in the Finstock Sport Network. I catch as much as possible. You guys are on live usually, and thank you so much the other day for having me on live, pretty much off the cuff and impromptu. It was nice having a back and forth with yourself and also the panel that was on there discussing all things Dolphins. So thank you very much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you jumping on it such short notice.
Anytime, man. Anytime. All right, so we're gonna cover a few things today, and one of the main premises of why we're on here tonight is the Miami Dolphins finally have actually very quick, a new defensive coordinator, as Vic Fangio, whether you like him or not, is gone. All right, he's decided to be the DC over at the Philadelphia Eagles, a job that many felt he actually wanted more so over than the Miami Dolphin job. And the Dolphins pick up a much younger guy in Anthony Weaver. Anthony Weaver, who was the defensive line coach for the Baltimore Ravens and did serve some time. Actually, it was 1 year he was a defensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. So let's get your take. You like the hire?
I do. And, I would say, just to be full disclosure, it wasn't my number one choice. Obviously, I'm a big fan of veteran coaches that have been there, done that, especially during the head coaching hiring cycle was the same for me before we, brought in McDaniel. So Leslie Frazier, Brandon Staley, those were the guys I was like, you know what, let's do that. I was hoping that possibly Ron Rivera would get a interview, but that didn't go down. When it started to look like Weaver was in that final batch, I started doing a lot more research on him. And the more I read up and the more I got a chance to listen to him and kind of see how he coached, I started becoming more excited about the hire. Just the way he communicates, he carries himself. You could sit down and watch. Everybody got really excited listening to the Buffalo Bills, Bobby Babich. I'm probably butchering that name, forgive me. But his little interview, people got excited listening to him. People loved what they heard from Anthony Caponelli on Hard Knocks, and was like, oh, that has to be the new DC. But if you sit down and you listen to Anthony Weaver, that guy is a coach's coach, and he's a player's coach. And I don't mean by, oh, he's all goody two shoes. I mean, this dude can, Matt, you will run through a wall for him. Watching him with his players, he's hitting the bags with them. He's not just sitting there on the sun with a hat on, protecting himself from the sun. He is there on both knees, fingers in the dirt, hitting the bags, showing them how it's done. He's a former second-round pick, was a good player, had a decent career. He knows what it takes to be an NFL football player. He knows what it is to deal with what they deal with on a daily basis. I am very happy with this hire, and I'm happy with the additions he's made so far on this staff.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like the hire. I like the fact they went younger as well. And I always thought if they were go for a position coach, they would go with somebody either from the Ravens staff or the San Francisco staff. I thought that those were two good staffs. And on top of that, Mike McDaniel did have, some work with the San Francisco staff, but the Ravens were absolutely dominant this year, not just on offense, but also on defense. The only thing about his 1 year in Houston is it didn't go very well. Obviously, you can make a case that the talent just wasn't there. Houston, Texas, when he was there in that tenure, they weren't a very good football team. But when he was the DC, they ranked 30th on defense. They gave up almost 6,700 yards. They averaged 416 yards per game. The only thing is that they were about middle of the pack in sacks. Is that a concern, or is just the fact that first time DC and also the talent just wasn't there comparable to what the Dolphins have?
He was there for 1 year, I believe. It was a 1 year
Yeah.
gig. So one and done type of situation. And as you just stated, Houston was not a very good football team at that time. The talent was not there. I can't really blame him for that. Obviously, you got to count it because it's on his resume. However, if you look at his defensive line work with Baltimore following that season and what the players that served under him, what they've been saying about him, that has to be counted as well. His defensive line in Baltimore, those units have performed very well with him as the lead guy there. I think I actually look at the Houston stop as a positive because he's been there, done that. He's been in a losing situation. He's been in the situation where he had to run a whole defense. So he knows what it is to fail. So whatever he did not work for him there, he's coming into this role knowing what not to do. I will also say, I said players coach earlier, being a former player. You look at what DeMarco Ryans did as a former player being a DC with San Francisco. You see what Mike Vrabel did with Houston when he was the DC as a former player. I believe that could help. That would be a huge benefit for the Dolphins going forward. Again, you can't ignore what happened in Houston, but also I think you have to look at what happened, what transpired afterwards as well. I think what happened in Houston and what he was able to do in Baltimore in a winning organization, a physical type football team, that's going to benefit Miami. I'm more how do you say? I want to say positive. I'm not finding the right word right now, but I have a more positive outlook than I have. Like I'm not as a concern as some may be.
Yeah, you're very optimistic. It's pretty much what you're telling us. Yeah, you're pretty optimistic. A little bit about him. My guy was Reynaldo Hill. I was very vocal about that on here and also on social media. Young guy, played for the Dolphins at one point in his career. Comes with a Vic Fangio coaching tree. I'm a stability guy in a sense, and this is going to be the third defensive coordinator that the Dolphins are going to have. So a guy like Reynaldo Hill, who has kind of like the same background, being basically under Vic in terms of his own defense, may have been the best hire for me at the moment. I do like the Weaver hire and work, but we're not going to see the Reynaldo Hill, the Vic Fangio side of the ball, which is very, I would say, zone oriented. So what can we expect from Weaver? I expect a lot of pressure. I expect a lot of different looks with that pressure. I expect still some good coverage, good coverage in the backfield, and I do expect some sacks. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess I could what to expect from this defense that's probably coming up without actually knowing who's going to be on it. But kind of seeing what history has shown us with Anthony Weaver is physicality. That's the problem with Miami that we've seen against teams like Buffalo and Baltimore. We don't have that physicality to match up to them. It's very everybody says Miami's a finesse team, but those finesse teams don't, unless you really, unless you're just that much better, don't match up against physical teams. The Dolphins defense, I believe, will be a ultra physical team next season with Weaver as their new defensive coordinator.
I agree, and I can't wait. Now, you guys, like I said, you guys are very good at your draft show. Your draft show is just amazing. I think it give ESPN a run for its money. I'll be honest with you. I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm actually being honest. You and Josh Wingate are very, very talented as far as breaking players down at the collegiate level and also in terms of the needs of the Dolphins. I'm more into the recruiting side of things, but I do like the draft as well. And I want to talk about a few players. Some of these players you talked about on your show, and some I looked up online as potential possible draft picks by the Miami Dolphins. So I'm going to shoot out a name. You tell me what you think. If you tell me it's in the appropriate round. Right, so ready?
Okay, give it a shot.
All right. On your show, many of you discussed that Jackson Powers Johnson, the interior lineman out of Oregon, might be the first choice of the Miami Dolphins. Okay, so what do you think about that? Is he going to be a first rounder? Will you pick in a later round since there is a plethora of offensive linemen in this draft? Either the Dolphins go with Jackson Powers Johnson in the first round, or they go elsewhere. And explain a little bit about Jackson Powers.
So, well, first off, with the Dolphins, you can't really predict what they're going to do because last year, I mean, I was pounding the table for Denzel Washington out of Georgia, 6'7", 200. That dude was a monster. He could block, he could catch, he could do it all. I'm like, dude, he is the guy. I had him already envisioned in a Miami Dolphins uniform. There's nothing could match, he just matched what we needed. And then we drafted Cam Smith. Yeah. So, it's just, you can't really say, will the Dolphins do this? Should they do it? Or just is Jackson Powers worth the 21st overall pick? Yes, because I believe what he done at the Senior Bowl, what Miami needs, and what other teams are seeing as well, it's pushing him up. And you don't only have to put him at center. Let's say for the Dolphins, instance of the Miami Dolphins, let's say they bring back Connor Williams on a decent deal. You could move Powers Johnson to guard and have him start there with whoever's starting at left tackle, Armstead or Kendall Lamb, whoever that may be, and Connor at the right side. Or you can move Connor back to guard and put Powers Johnson at center. If you got Armstead, Connor, Johnson, your left side is set. Then of course you got Robert Hunt and Austin Jackson. Now you have, compared to what was going on last year, you're sitting there like a golden goose. So will the Dolphins do it? I think he should be considered. There's a lot of names. And like you just said, the offensive line prospects are the offensive line this year, tackle, guard, center. This class is deep. I know a lot of people are banging the table for offensive line, and I get it. The Dolphins offensive line, even though this year has performed better than what they should with all the injuries and everything, for 20 plus years, I think we've been asking for offensive line. Yeah. So I understand it. But with this draft class, you could get a very good offensive lineman in the 4th, 5th round, 3rd round. You're not going to, you could get a golden goose in the 1st and 2nd, but you could get a solid starter probably in those mid rounds.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you so much for explaining that. And again, if the Dolphins go lineman, I'm okay with it, but first, I think they should go linebacker because I think they're not going to re-sign Jerome Baker, and I do think that we need someone that could cover and also stop the run as well. So that's where I want to go again because of the fact that this is a deep draft in terms of linemen. And on your show, I just mentioned 2 guys from that are grading very high, and Matt Lee, who's a very solid center, and Javion Cohen, who never gave up a sack, in college, facing an SEC defense and an ACC defense as well. So that's just my take. Now I'm going to go over, this is straight from the Fanatic website from Fansided. They have a different perspective than both of us. They think that the Dolphins should select Terrion Arnold out of the University of Alabama, a cornerback, to add to the defensive backfield. So what do you think about this idea about going cornerback in the 1st round?
So I'll preference that by that. I'll answer this first, and then I'll say this first before I answer that. I would say with the Dolphins at 21, don't sleep on any position other than quarterback, and again, unless one of those top dudes fall, and that's when everybody goes, wait a second, any position other than quarterback, don't sleep on. I'm saying wide receiver, I'm talking corner, safety, linebacker, whatever. Do I think they go corner? No. I don't see them going corner at 21. I think with Cam Smith, they took Cam Smith with the 2nd round pick, their 1st pick last year, the 2nd round pick. Obviously, I don't know whether we'll see. A lot of people are blaming Fangio for obviously Cam Smith not seeing the field. We don't know what was going on, and I'm not making excuses either way for each side. Did Fangio just not like him? Did they see him and he's like, dude, this is not the guy. I'm going to go ahead and start Eli Apple over this guy, and I know our friend Courtney's not a big fan of that. But I can understand people saying, and all respect to those who said that, us picking a corner. I get it because Howard is more than likely out the door this offseason. But we don't know what we've seen in Cam Smith. Do we trust Vic Fangio, who's been a coach for 30 plus years, that he did not see anything out of this kid in the offseason to start him or give him any type of opportunity, I believe more than likely the Dolphins, obviously, got Jalen Ramsey. They're going to give Cam Smith a chance. I don't think they're going to draft somebody unless somebody falls, and again, Arnold's is a very good corner. Let me see, look at something very quick. But cool, both corners out of McKinstry and Arnold, both corners out of Alabama, very good. Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, a very good corner. I wouldn't sleep on it, but I believe because you took that guy, Cam Smith, last season, I just don't really see it as a legitimate option. But I didn't think they were going to draft Cam Smith last year, so.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was on the Darnell Washington bandwagon as well. My image of Darnell was him dragging that poor kid from Oregon for about 10 yards for a first down into the first game when they crushed Oregon. Yeah, he was a physical specimen, as far as he looked like a Goliath, out on the football field. So I thought the Dolphins would go that route. They didn't, and they do get Cam Smith, doesn't see the field. I don't think Vic Fangio likes him. I don't think I heard things about the work ethic, that Vic didn't like his work ethic and so on. So I don't know. When people leave, stuff leaks out. So I really don't know exactly what happened.
We'll know for sure with Anthony Weaver. If Cam Smith cannot find the field next season, we're going to know who was truly right. We'll know if Vic Fangio it should be trusted, should be as respected as he is, or we'll know that, hey, you know what, Cam Smith should have been on that field.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, we'll definitely find out this upcoming season if he can't hit the field, and we'll see. That's definitely going to be an indictment on him. But we'll see. All right, so the offensive lineman, round 2, pick 55, is expected to be the tackle out of Pittsburgh, 6'6", 330 pounds, Matt Goncalves. What do you think about him? Again, another solid tackle, graded very well in Pro Football Focus when he was studied and so on. So, what do you think?
Yeah, offensive lineman. First off, I think that pick 2 in the second round is probably a golden opportunity to get that offensive lineman. If you don't go offensive line in the first round, you may go off offensive line with both picks. You may go guard, center, and tackle. I think linebacker probably is a safe bet at that spot. I know you brought up linebacker for 21. I'm still studying and watching film on linebackers before I solidify my point when I say this. But so far, I'm not comfortable taking any linebacker in round 1. Maybe at the end of round 1. If Miami trades out of 21, goes to the 29, 30, 31, 32, maybe, but not at 21. I just don't see it yet. So in the 50 range to 50, whatever pick they have in the second round, I'm more comfortable there. And there's other guys at linebacker. I think Edgerrin Cooper out of Texas A&M is a guy that I like. He's more of the outside linebacker, even though we need inside linebacker. Cedric Gray, North Carolina. I know Jeremiah Trott is a very popular one. He's an inside linebacker, but again, I wouldn't jump at getting him in the first round. If he's there at the second pick, go get him. Tommy Eichenberg. I know Eichenberg sometimes says a bad word for Dolphin fans, but this don't. And you know what? I get it because he doesn't just share a last name with Liam Eichenberg. That's his baby brother. Tommy Eichenberg is Liam Eichenberg's baby brother. But this kid, I like him. You get a second, third, fourth, whatever. I'm okay with that pick. But offensive line, you can't go wrong. Really, offensive line in the second round. If it's Conclaves, at a Pitt or any of those guys, there's a lot of good offensive linemen in that range, or even again, third, fourth round. That would be very good. Would be a very good pickup for the Dolphins.
It'd be a good pickup. Pittsburgh's known for having a very physical offensive line. So if you want to have a more physical football team, he would be a good pick. Again, if I was to go that route, again, I'm a Canes fan. I'd probably go with Javion Cohen. Javion Cohen is an interior lineman. Never gave up a sack in college. Played at Alabama, so the competition he faced was very fierce. And also played at the U, where they faced Clemson and Florida State this year, when Florida State was an undefeated football team. Never gave up a sack. So I think that you can go with Matt, but I for that, if you want to go tackle interior, you can put Javion Cohen either at the left or at the right side of the offensive line, depending on what happens with Robert Hunt as well. So we'll see how that goes. Robert Hunt is a question mark, I think, for this season. Round number 5 is somebody that I'm very familiar with, and he is LT3, also known as Leonard Taylor III, the defensive tackle for the Miami Hurricanes. You know anything about him?
Yeah, if you get him in round 5, that's a steal. If he's in round 5, I think I would be shocked. We don't know what's going on with Christian Wilkins.
Yeah.
More than likely, I think he's gone. Again, I think the Dolphins get their offers on the table. I don't think it's going to change. You listen to Chris Greer during that press conference when he said Christian Wilkins has earned the right to test free agency. I think basically what he was saying was, hey, look, you know what? Here's our offer. It's there. You know what it is. Go check free agency. Go see if someone's willing to pay you more. And if they do, thank you for everything. Good luck. Or if they don't, come on over. This deal's waiting for you. So, if unless something shocking happens and no one offers him the contract he thinks he should, or at least something that's over what Miami's willing to pay, I think Wilkins is gone. And then if that's the case, that's why, I wouldn't sleep on any position, especially defensive line, at 1, 2, or 3, or possibly round 5. And if you get Leonard Taylor III out of University of Miami in round 5, holy crap, that's a win. Dude is physical. I like him a lot. Everything I've seen from him, I like him a lot. I can't just if you get him, I'm shocked that they would think he's there at round 5.
Yeah, he is. He's a great football player. The one knock on him, I mean, you can make a case, is that he didn't get in enough. If you ask some Canes fans, he didn't get enough in terms of the rotation. His previous, not Lance Guidry, but the one before, Kevin Steele liked rotating defensive tackles, and this year as well, it was a bit of a rotation. He's hit or miss with some people in terms of he might have underachieved. That he didn't bring that legacy that a Vince Wilfork brought to the table, or Jerome Brown, that they were just these dominant, oh God, we got a scheme for this guy. He didn't bring that to the table, but he's still very effective with the right system, the right coaching, and motivation as well. Being a fact he's a 5th rounder, and people thought he should have stayed another year in college, you might actually get a steal in this draft. He's fast. Okay, he's a lot like Christian Wilkins in the sense he's got good hands. He's quick off the ball as well, and he'll stop the run as well. And quarterbacks, if they hold the ball too long, he will get the sack as well. So if the Dolphins decide to let Christian Wilkins go and they decide to get Leonard Taylor as a replacement for Christian Wilkins, they could get a steal, especially if he's well coached by a guy like Anthony Weaver as well.
Absolutely.
All right, now one of my linebackers. You mentioned Cedric Gray. Popular linebacker though amongst the Dolphins fan sphere is Jeremiah Trotter, the linebacker out of Clemson, beast. Okay, we know the name very well. Jeremiah Trotter's his dad.
His dad,
former Philadelphia Eagle. And what do you think about Trotter?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I've watched some on him. Again, I want to watch a lot. I'll watch a little bit more at least before I make a final judgment. I know he's a popular name at 21, and I know my judgment right now is I would not take him at 21. Again, if you do a trade down scenario and you can get him maybe in 30, 31, 32, okay. If you can get him in round 2 at that spot, it's a perfect spot. Obviously, if we could bring back Baker, I think that'd be good for Miami. I know some fans want him gone, but really he was doing well for us last year. I think it would be him, Van Ginkel, and if you could add Jeremiah Trotter to that mix, Miami could have a decent core there, especially bringing in Joe Barry from Green Bay. And I understand as a defensive coordinator, he didn't do good, but his units beforehand did very well. I mean, he's been a part of a lot of great staffs as the linebackers coach. He's had very strong units. So you give him with Jerome Baker, Van Ginkel, you bring in somebody like Trotter in there. Absolutely. Trotter has a very high ceiling. Obviously, he has that NFL pedigree because of his father, But there's other guys, again, like I said, there's guys that are catching my eye that I understand that if, let's say, when I bring up other guys, if we miss out on him, I would say it's the end of the world. At least not from what I see, but I don't want to hit that nail on the head yet until I've watched more. So again, when you talk about on the clock on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, our draft show, stay tuned, and we'll get that final assessment as we continue watching film and going from there.
Yeah, you mentioned Cedric Gray. Cedric Gray is really good for the North Carolina linebacker. He's very good. He's a very smart football player, has a high football IQ as well. He can hit your gaps and stop the run. He could also be dropped back in coverage. So I think about Cedric Gray, so that he's not exactly, if you can't get Jeremiah Trotter, if you want to go linebacker, he's available. That's a guy you may want to get.
And the value there is fine. Again, if you're looking in that 5th round range or 4th, whatever, let's say, and I think Miami could get a couple more draft picks. I would not sleep on Miami trading down from 21 to get a couple picks, another extra 2nd round pick and maybe a 3rd or a 4th. But then if you get a Gray in the 3rd or the 4th, whatever, or maybe the 5th, that's amazing value for that type of player. And again, one thing I will tell Miami fans that we need to stop doing is when we draft a player, give them time to develop.
Yeah.
Let's not rush them to the let's not put them on a pedestal. Let's not go, why the hell aren't they there yet? Yeah, when you look at someone like Eazy-E or back Ibanagani before last year, yeah, dude, or Channing Tindall, I guess would be better. Where are they? Well, we got a second, third round pick. They haven't done anything. Okay, that's right. It's been a couple years. But, someone like Cam Smith, okay, he didn't play last year. Let's see what he does next year. Let's not rush these guys. They're young guys. They're rookies. They're on a team that's windows closing, but is a contending type of team. They're not going to get a lot of minutes. Let them have their opportunity to grow. So someone like Cedric Gray, we may draft him, but if he's in the third round, this guy in 2 to 3 seasons might be a solid starter in the NFL.
No, I totally agree with you. And I think that, again, you have to let these guys develop. So not Eric just be a plug and play guy, just goes in there and kicks butt. You have to give them some time, to be able to find their own in the NFL. The NFL is a much faster league than is college football. I mean, you're not facing any cupcakes. Everybody in the NFL is a professional football player with an NFL body type and so on, an NFL IQ caliber and whatnot. One thing I like doing on my show when I have a first time guest, and once again, welcome Bobby, is I like to do like an origin story. Okay, so like I said, before he came on, you kind of gave me a run through of how the Fins Sports Talk Network works. But I want to know, where did you get the idea? How did it start? And how did you get everybody together? And how did you get the idea to get all these shows?
So Fins Talk Sports Network. So first off, just love talking sports. Grew up loving sports. Started by loving the Miami Dolphins, and that started growing up in Hialeah, Florida. And my stepfather being a diehard Dolphins fan, sitting with him and watching the Dolphins on Sundays or Mondays. Jay Fiedler, Ricky Williams, Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, Tim Bowens, Brock Marion, Sam Madison. I mean, Pat Surtain, those were the guys that I grew up on. And, it just got me so passionate about the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade, UD, Shaq, and then you go the Marlins with, David Beckett and so forth. And, just loving sports, playing sports, enjoying it. As I get older, talking to Ralph, my stepfather, almost every day, talking sports, talking Dolphins. Dolphins make a move, I'm on the phone with him. How is this being done? Oh my God, this guy's amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm not so sure. So, just fall in love with it. And I wanted to go on my original plan before I went to film school was to go to Central Florida. I wanted to do sports management and possibly being coaching football because I played high school ball and I just love it. But life took me on another course, but I still love sports, love talking sports. I did a little bit back in the day. It was called Real Talk. Trying to remember the name exactly. I'll probably remember it later, but it was Real Talk, even though we have a show called Real Talk Fins Talk right now. One of my things was Real Talk, and it was on Blog Talk Radio, and I did that with my best friend Alex, who we have these 10th Street Boys with, and just loved doing it. And it just, of course, life got in the way. Went on. I started doing different things for different sites, and I was on this one site for the Miami Dolphins, and I was writing about the Dolphins and doing mock drafts and doing what I love best, and doing what I'm doing now in a lower type of tone. And Ralph would just tell me, hey man, you need to be doing shows. You need to be on YouTube. And I'm watching these guys on YouTube, and he'd say these nice, pleasant things, about those guys don't hold a candle, whatever. And of course, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I think I will. And so I started doing something on another Dolphins site, and it was a lot of fun. And those guys are amazing. And but I started thinking, after a while, I'm like, man, I could think. I'm thinking bigger than this. I think I could be doing something bigger than this. And started teaching myself how to do graphics and, just because I was thinking, I was telling you earlier, I think presentation is key, and I just love talking sports and not just the Dolphins. I want to talk Heat. I want to talk Marlins. I want to do it all, so, ended up taking my show and creating, which was Fins Talk Today. And I had Fins Talk Overtime. Brought Fins Talk Today, started doing this on my own and started doing my own thing. And then created with that, the Fins Talk. It was originally started as Fins Talk Network because it was Fins Talk Today and Fins Talk Overtime. And then I brought in the Heat Show, which was the original, which started off as the Goon Squad. And I made it the Fins Talk Sports Network. And so, you had people tuning in, and it was growing, and it was amazing. And I was like, I love professional wrestling. So we had the wrestling show, and there were people who were tuning in, and I was like, hey, we're growing. If you're interested to talk sports, here's a platform. And, people that were watching, they joined in. And so they would be a guest on Overtime. And if we got along, they ended up getting a show, like Finn Stanza, who's a great Finn's Talk Sports Network personality and huge to the channel, was a viewer. Steve Malloy, amazing, one of the best. He was a viewer, and I got to know these guys and became friends. And now Steve is the host of Real Talk Finn's Talk, a very successful show on the channel on Tuesday nights. Finn Stanza does everything, but he's the host of The Bandwagon, and which is a successful show, of course, talking Dolphins. We've got Josh Kimmel, who does our he was with Brett Lagasse and friends with, that's how I knew him. Now he runs he does the fantasy football show Once Upon a Sunday, and in professional wrestling, we all love wrestling, grew up on it. It's like, dude, we got to do that. And then you brought up Josh Wingate. Josh Wingate had a show with Josh Kimmel, Beer and Sports, which usually airs at Monday nights at 8 p.m. They're taking a break right now for On the Clock. But Josh Wingate, Brett Lagasse, those guys' backgrounds are in football. They went to these sports. They've done scouting before. They've done all this. Michael Vogel, Coach Vogel, is another one. And so be able to share that passion of sports and to bring that onto the screen. And, a very kind thing you were saying earlier that is kind of like ESPN, where that's kind of how I wanted it to be, was like, treat it, and it is a sports network. We're continuing to grow. Like I say, to be continued. We got football, basketball. We're going to have baseball tomorrow, professional wrestling, fantasy football, hockey eventually, boxing. I want to grow this, and it's been a great experience. I've gained a lot of friends from across the country, Texas, Canada, Delaware, Philly, people that you never, and I'm going, it's Oregon, whatever. People that, or Georgia, there's people that I never thought I'd know, but because I'm doing this, just talking sports, and I wanted to do it in a way where not only make this brand into a real sports network, but also just like you and I are doing. If we were sitting on the porch right now, we could be, or sitting at the bar talking Dolphins. That's how I wanted it, laid back. And then meeting people like you and Miss Finns and Dolphins Thirsty Rob Mosley, it's a great channel for Dolphins fans. We're all different content creators, but doing this has been able to open that network up for me. And it's been such a blast. And we're continuing to grow. And it turned into what it is right now. And it's just the beginning. That's what's cool, And so I'm happy the way it's turning out, but I'm very excited about what the future may hold.
I want to piggyback on something. I'm gonna go off the cuff a little bit. I really never do this. I rarely run into wrestling fans anymore. So I have to ask you as a wrestling fan. We were talking about before the show started how people were upset because The Rock was taking Cody Rhodes' spot, as far as WrestleMania goes, and taking on Roman Reigns, and everybody's been wanting Cody Rhodes to get a championship for like the longest time. We just found out tonight that The Rock slaps Cody Rhodes and defends Roman Reigns, and we're gonna get the match that people have been asking for the last couple of years. Do you think WWE is making a comeback now that Vince is basically completely gone and Triple H has officially taken over?
100%. 100%. I mean, with his foot out the door, and then with Paul Levesque, Triple H kind of leading that charge with Nick Khan, and what I feel like it is starting to take that comeback. People are starting to get more excited, though. Like you say, you've been out a year really paying attention to wrestling, but now all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, Rock just smacked Cody Rhodes. What's this Cody movement? And people are starting to tune in, and you got to give credit to Triple H or Paul Levesque, what he's been able to do. I believe it is. And of course you got AEW and you got TNA and the other side there. Those guys, they're not WWE, but just to see their popularity jumping up, professional wrestling is starting to become what it was to us growing up. For me, I grew up watching WCW. I was a WCW guy. I wasn't.
Depends.
Well, when towards the end, I started getting into WWF. Yeah. Towards the end of WCW, I wasn't really into the Vince Russo years, but like Hollywood Hulk Hogan, the NWO, that dude. Yeah, all for life, brother. For life. I told my, you see, we got to rip out their NWO gear. dude. I told I'm wearing black, so I guess I am. But we were just having it. My daughter's a diehard Judgment Day fan. She loves Rhea Ripley. She loves Dominic. God help me.
Okay.
But so she's like, oh, Judgment Day's the best. I mean, NWO would whoop it's not even a day, you know. So, but I grew up on NWO and WCW. So when wrestling was huge back then, and to see where it is coming back right now, it's just an exciting time, to sit down, especially with like your kids, and because you grew up watching this, and you sit down and you're like, you know what I mean, and you're just enjoying this. It's like, man, I was their age when I started watching this, and now they're my age. They're at their age, and I'm the dad, and I'm just enjoying this with them, screaming and having a blast. It's a cool time.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the reason why I said it depends is because I grew up a Hulk Hogan fan. I know for a lot of wrestling fans, especially those that grew up more or less was the Attitude Era, Hulk Hogan's reputation is such a cutthroat guy in terms of
I'm a diehard Hulk Hogan guy.
So am I. And you know what? And I've always said this. I'm like, I don't blame Hulk for being the way he was. The way the business is, it breeds that. I'm surprised it doesn't happen. It does happen a lot, but I'm surprised not everybody's like that. You talk about if you get paid the most when you're on top, you get the most television revenue when you're on top, you get the movie deals when you're on top. How could you not be cutthroat? How can you not be cutthroat? And how can you not pick to Hulk Hogan's credit, he gave up the belt to the Ultimate Warrior. During that time, which is kind of because he said supposedly he needed a break. A lot of the traveling, the movies, and the talk shows he was burning out, so he needed a break. But he gave up the belt to a guy that was like just hot off the cuff right away. I mean they built Warrior up a bit, but he was super fast, super hot, and then they gave him the belt back because Warrior.
What happened with the Warrior?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
but everybody. But if you, and forgive me, but you talk about, and in regard to that part of Hulk Hogan, it doesn't work for me, brother. Everybody loves to talk about that. What did The Rock, if you want to say like The Rock now as the TKO board, what he was able to do, Stone Cold Steve Austin, I always say it like this, there's the pillars of professional wrestling. Everyone has kind of their role, right? So it's like, if you start off maybe Bruno Sammartino, maybe back then, right? Way before our time, but Bruno, but let's say the three pillars for me was, I'm talking about ones who carried the WWE in the back. Hulk Hogan, he was from the golden age. Then you had Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes.
Then John Cena, and everyone else went in between, right? Andre the Giant, Undertaker, and then whoever's here. So there's all these little guys here, but they're all, those three right there are guys who put the WWE on their back. They had these great rivalries, and I'm not taking anything away from everyone else that was in those eras.
No, absolutely not.
But Austin, when they told him to lose to Brock Lesnar on a random Monday Night Raw, and he walked out.
Yes.
Austin did that, and it's the same thing as Hogan said. It doesn't work for me, brother. John Cena, they're like, with Nexus or whatever, there's stories about that. Oh, Cena's selfish. No, Cena's smart. To me, and I'm not trying to what they call mark it out, but you got to protect not only your character, but your place in the company. You're there for a freaking reason. So when Hogan says, "Oh, Hogan, I want you to lose to Vampiro, whatever, Billy Kidman from back in the day," it's like, but Hulk, they always say Hulk Hogan's famous line was, which is the same thing with Austin, was, okay, what happens next?
Yeah.
Okay, he beats me. So what happens? What's the end of the story? Which Cody Rhodes finished the story. What's the end of the story? That's why when people say people are pissed off about Cody Rhodes and The Rock, oh, he has to finish the story. How about you just sit back, shut up, and enjoy the story?
Yeah.
Let it play out. Let's see what happens. And so hey, now we got something in common. Now we're Hulkamaniacs. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. 100% Hulkamaniac. Totally. And I don't care what anyone says. If you were born in the 1980s and you were a wrestling fan, Hulk, you may have not liked them in the end, but Hulk Hogan got you watching. He's the guy that got you watching. Because I know, because I remember my father turned on the TV and I saw him wrestle Big John Studd, and I got hooked on Hulk Hogan. Yep. Everybody at one point got into wrestling because Hulk Hogan at least opened the door. And that's why I got super upset at CM Punk when he was on a panel with Bret Hart and he wouldn't put Hulk Hogan on Mount Rushmore over something personal that happened, in an interview about a couple of years ago. I'm like, dude,
it's just popular. It's popular now for people to hate on Hulk Hogan. It's just it's a cool thing to do, to hate on Hulk Hogan. And so I just, like you say with CM Punk, who is obviously he's not an innocent guy and a lot of things. He has his own, like, that's the other thing, right? Oh, CM Punk, it's like, dude, you're the last one to cry, you're clean, when you had those issues in AEW and you had issues when you were WWE. Now, you're saving face right now with WWE. You're back in WWE after saying you were never going to go back to them. You're back. So it's like, that's why when people, when you don't throw stones at a glass house, everyone's sinned. Don't throw stones unless you haven't sinned. That's all
Absolutely.
I'm saying.
No, I totally agree with you. In that regard. I want to keep bashing CM Punk, but
no, not trying to, but like you were saying.
No, because I was gonna say something else. I'm like, let me hold back because
I got you.
I want to hold back because I had a lot more to say, and I'm like, no, let me hold back a little bit.
This is becoming the Fin Talk Sports. It's like a Fin. Oh gosh, now we're getting into wrestling now. Let's go.
Yeah, man. Because I don't meet people that like wrestling. It's like, oh, no, never into that. Oh, I stopped watching that when Hulk Hogan was still yellow and on steroids. It's like, allegedly, those.
Allegedly, we know, but we'll say Dark Side of the Ring. It's like,
so yeah. So it's one of those things. I was like, so when I see you have a wrestling, I'm like, man, this guy likes wrestling and so on. And I said, I'm happy they're gonna be on Netflix. Some people are like, oh, they're gonna be on Netflix. I'm like, yeah, you still pay for cable. I mean,
he's right. What are you talking about?
I want it on Netflix, man. So yeah, man, I love Hulk. I love that era. I'm a big Hulk. Bret Hart is one of my favorite wrestlers too.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, at least growing up, pound for pound, the greatest at everything he did. Great on the microphone. Great technical wrestler. Strong, but not extremely strong.
Let me ask you.
Strong enough. Go ahead. Yeah.
Who's your Mount Rushmore? Who's on your Mount Rushmore?
Oh, Hulk.
Hulk.
Definitely Austin because he revolutionized the industry. The Undertaker as well.
That's fair.
The Undertaker, and I wasn't a big fan, but I recognized what he did for the business. I gotta go. Oh, crap, between Andre the Giant or Ric Flair.
Okay, so obviously, right. So it's kind of funny, for me, it's obviously Austin, Hogan. Mm-hmm. I guess you got to put Flair in there. Obviously, many people call him the GOAT, and fair enough, right? He's had more world titles in 16, but still, so I guess you put him there, and then you said Andre and Undertaker. To me, Andre and Undertaker kind of are right there together in regards of like the phenoms, the eighth wonder of the world, and you have the Undertaker. They're both those auras around them. Damn, I'd say Andre, just because what do you mean? But Undertaker's right there. I mean, obviously you got to, you could even like put John Cena, because to me those are the pillars. Those were the guys. Like Hogan and Cena and Austin were the guys that everybody went against. Those were the guys, the head of the poster, and then I guess Roman Reigns is what that is now, so it's just a very interesting time. Some of my favorites growing up that weren't, I guess better in ring but they were like under was of course Scott Hall. Hall was phenomenal. And I'd love to listen to Scott Hall after wrestling when, he would do shoot interviews just with his the psychiatry of the business and the stories that he would say, but also as a professional wrestler, he was amazing in the ring. Arn Anderson was one of my favorites. I liked Arn Anderson. I love watching Ric Flair, but I was a huge Arn Anderson guy. The Spine Buster, the way he carried it. I hated when he retired, but when it was Ric Flair versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 17, and Ric Flair was all bloody. He was famous for, he had blonde hair, but it was all bloody red.
Yeah.
But then he threw Undertaker into the ropes, and all of a sudden Arn Anderson came in and did that spine buster. Dude, I was like, oh shit! I was like, oh yes! It's just so damn cool. But wrestling's a great fun thing. It's still fun.
Yeah, Taker had better matches when he got older than he did when he was younger, and he looked better in the ring. He was a chameleon. That's a guy that. He would reinvent himself, with the exception of the American Badass, but he would reinvent himself without basically ruining the integrity of his character as this kind of like zombie-like, mythological figure. I say that the American Badass because they try to make him more real, but that character, the Dead Man, would change over time and kind of fit, the era and the time period.
My two favorite versions of Taker, which is funny, because he's, like you said, he's evolved with the times. But my two favorite versions was, of course, I did enjoy the American Badass, even when he was the bad guy right before he went back to the Undertaker role, the Dead Man. But the American Badass was a lot of fun, especially when he would like beat up on Jeff Hardy and everything. I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. And then, of course, I think Dark Side or corporate Undertaker, corporate ministry. Yes. We had the goatee and that evil as hell. I was like, dude, I wish when they did when the Wyatt family, I don't know if you were familiar with them.
Yes.
Okay. So when the Wyatt family was first starting out, and then they had they would appear out of nowhere. I was like, wouldn't it be so cool if you found out Undertaker was their leader? like, and he back as the heel Undertaker. I thought that was a huge missed opportunity. I thought that would have been so neat. And he doesn't like to wrestle, so you don't even have to use him. You just keep him just rolling around, until like WrestleMania. But I just thought it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's a shame having a Bray Wyatt, man. But I really like the
Yeah,
Fiend.
yeah.
I thought they misused that character
Bray
quite a bit.
Wyatt, Bray Wyatt was amazing.
Yeah,
Rotunda and as of course the Fiend. I mean, just these characters. Sucks how it ended. Even passing away, and just he's gonna go down. What could have been. I mean, that's what's crazy. It's like the way he carried his character was, and the way he was. I mean, especially where wrestling is right now. It's like, damn, we're never really good. We saw some potential, but we'll never get to see the full potential of what he could become. It's a shame.
I read that Triple H wants to continue that legacy. That he still wants to have a Wyatt family as a tribute to Bray. I don't know how they're gonna pull it off, but that he still wants to do that. He wants to continue that. It was cut too short, and it's sad because it was cut when Undertaker officially passed the torch, to Bray as a new dark phenom of WWE. So it's kind of unfortunate that happened to him, especially such a young age, as
Horrible.
well. So it was just horrible for him to happen.
For his family,
to happen.
Yeah.
All right. So before I let you go, man, and obviously I'm gonna have you, talk about your the times that you're on with your respective shows. I gotta ask you, greatest tag team of all time in your opinion?
Oh, are you a tag team guy? Is that why?
I like tag teams, not modern tag teams, but I like when we were growing up tag teams.
So let me. I don't think this might surprise you because there are some. I mean, right now I'm thinking of Four Horsemen when they would Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard.
Well, they're more a faction.
Yeah, I'm talking about Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson.
Oh yes, okay.
But I'm WCW. See, the guys are popping in my head right now. Harlem Heat was a lot of fun. The Dudley Boys were great. I love the Dudley Boys, but I got to stick with my colors, man. Red and white, NWO, Outsiders. I'm gonna roll with that right now. Even though there's other answers, but I'm gonna roll with those guys right there because you got me on the cuff. I had to think of that, but I'm gonna roll with the Outsiders, man.
I got mine ready to go, man. The Road Warriors, Hawk and Harold. Those were my guys, man. Both those guys were my guys, man. I love the Road Warriors. I was a Hawk guy though. He was my favorite one of the two, man. But then those guys were just nasty when they were getting the ring.
Yeah, man. But I hate the way it's become now, with tag teams, because it used to be a lot of fun. Because even if they, like obviously the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian. I'm talking about. I guess I don't know if that's modern era anymore. But obviously there's the Young Bucks, but I don't really pay attention to those guys too much, or just the modern day wrestling with the tag teams. But like you think of the Andersons or Tully Blanchard and Aaron Anderson, the Road Warriors, the Steiner Brothers, Harlem Heat, Outsiders, those were like, dude, and they had a bigger picture, but like that was like you knew them. They were always together, and even if they came out, they were still together, and they weren't a joke. Now it's kind of like always like a little sideshow,
Yeah.
But there you go. I'm going with the Outsiders, even though obviously there's other answers there, but I'm rolling because I gotta stick with the colors, brother. You know what it is.
So I gotta say, your favorite faction is the Four Horsemen and the NWO.
NWO for life.
Yes.
Respect to the Horsemen. Respect to the Horsemen, brother. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, JJ Dillon, Tully Blanchard. Those guys, love them, dude. The suits, like that's me. I put on a suit and rock out. That's kind of my style. But there's no group, no faction that is better than the New World Order, the NWO. Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hogan, Scott Hall, Big Daddy Cool, Kevin Nash, and then of course the group got bigger, but the NWO, black and white, all day, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, man, when Hulk Hogan turned heel, never in history had anyone had reacted that way. Trash all over the ring. The crowd really took that personally, man. It was an unbelievable reaction from the audience. I don't know if it's true or not, because I don't know if you ever confirmed it, but I heard Kevin Nash saw that, and he's a part of it. He's like, holy crap, wow.
Yeah, I love watching when they first came out, man, or when you watch those documentaries and when they talk about how they grew and the reactions from the fans and how genuine it really was, how pissed they actually were that Hogan turned on
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it was just fantastic. All right, Bobby, thank you so much for joining us today on 305 Sports Now. I had a wonderful time. I love when I could go off and just talk about wrestling as well, so it was great. Let us know, because you have a lot of shows and a lot of different times. Let us know where we can find what time we can, Morris, what time we can find your shows on, where we can find you.
Yeah, man. Again, Monday nights. First, I'll start from Monday nights. Monday nights, 8 p.m. And forgive me. Got sick baby there. Just woke up. So in case you hear that,
I feel you,
we
man.
got So forgive me on that one. She just mom walked out, so now she's in there and she's wondering. But just let me get Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Fitz Talk Sports Net. We got our draft show on the clock with me, Josh Wingate, Coach Michael Vogel, Russ Morgan as well. Get you ready for your draft content, especially for Miami Dolphin fans. Tuesdays, we got Real Talk Fins Talk with Steve Malloy and Rob Mosley, Dolphins Thursday. Wednesday night, we got the Goon Squad talking Miami Heat basketball. Friday, Bandwagon on Thursday nights, Fins Bandwagon. And then, of course, Fridays, we have, let me make sure here, on Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern, we have On Deck with Russ Morgan and Rob Mosley for Major League Baseball. Saturday, Fins Talk today. I mean, and it's just going to keep going and going, dude. And, of course, you got Wednesdays, I believe, in the afternoons. You got Once Upon a Sunday, and then you got Real Talk Wrestling on Thursday nights as well.
Perfect. Bobby, thank you so much. Bobby, the CEO and founder and the architect of the Fins Talk Sports Network. Thank you so much for joining us at 305 Sports Now. No, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Anytime you want me to come on to do some live Dolphin talk or Heat, even, just let me know. I'll make some arrangements and boom, I'll be on with you, right?
Sounds good, brother.
Awesome. Appreciate it. If you like what you heard, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. Once again, I am Will. Stay safe. God bless you soon. Bobby, thank you once again for joining us. Have a wonderful day, guys. Bye-bye.